Sorry to cut you off, Shaq. Let's go to Commissioner Adam Silver.
If you have a question, raise your hand in the room. If you're on Zoom, use the raised hand function on the Zoom app. We'll start with some opening comments from the Commissioner, then take questions. Adam?
Thank you, Tim. And it's great to be here, and it's great to see everyone. It's been quite a while. Let me begin by talking a little bit about this season. Of course, it's been now the longest season in NBA history. It was almost exactly a year ago when training camps opened. And as you all know, a lot has happened, both within the NBA family and of course, in the country. This is a season where we lost my mentor and one of my closest friends, David Stern. You know, of course, tragically, Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and their friends. And then the pandemic. And so on March 11th, as we all know, we shut down, and then we embarked on a course over the next several months of how it is and if we would be able to restart NBA basketball. And there were three themes we focused on. Number one, of course, was, can we bring the NBA back? Number two was the health and safety of everyone involved. And that meant all the stakeholders in the NBA, players, coaches, media members, of course. Was there a possibility of having fans? All of that was on the table. And then as events unfolded in the country, social justice became one of those themes as well. And so those were the three main factors that were all in consideration when ultimately we decided to play here in Orlando. And that was a decision we made essentially in mid-May. And just given the unpredictability of this virus, as we all now know, at the time we made that decision in mid-May, Florida had one of the lowest case rates in the country. And by the time we arrived here in early July, it had one of the highest case rates in the country. So that was something, of course, we were dealing with as well. Being here has taken extraordinary sacrifices by everyone involved. Of course, there were the 22 teams that started here, but it was really a 30-team endeavor. It was the agreement of those 8 teams that ultimately they would not be joining us in Orlando, which was enormous sacrifice on their part. And as you all know, they are now, in essence, operating in their own mini bubbles for their training camps. There were the sacrifices of the players, the coaches, the staff who are here, those who left their families behind, their friends, who gave up a lot of their liberties, just as many of you have, by living on this campus. There are the 6,500 people in this community in Orlando who've been servicing the people here on this campus. It's an extraordinarily high number, something I think beyond what anyone would realize from the outside. I analogize it a bit to when you go to a movie and you see the actors on the screen and then the credits start rolling at the end and they keep rolling and they keep rolling. That's the 6,500 people. And it's the essential workers, the people who do our testing every day, take our temperatures, clean our rooms, maintain these facilities. It's the bus drivers, it's the hotel workers. It's everyone who's been involved down here, and a huge thank you, to the people of Orange County, Florida, who've taken such good care of us over our time here. There are several thank yous, and I made a list. I'm sure I'm leaving some names off, but a few I wanted to be sure I focused on. First of all, from the Disney company, Bob Iger, who's now the executive chairman of Disney. This certainly would not have happened without him. I think when he and I first started discussing this in May, it seemed truly a pipe dream. Even this notion that there would be something called a bubble that we would play in, that there would be these protocols. I think he may have said to me, "Are you serious?" And I wasn't really initially. It wasn't my idea, and I resisted it, frankly. I said, it's just not realistic. And given the number of games we wanted to play, but somehow it came together. Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, was a huge supporter of this. Josh DeMero, who's chairman of all the parks. Jeff Valley, who's the president of this park of Disney World. A huge thank you to all of you. And Roz Durant, many of you know, she was formerly of ESPN where we first met, and then she got promoted into a senior vice president role at Disney, and she's been our day-to-day contact here, and she's made all this happen. I want to thank Alex Martins, who's the CEO of the Orlando Magic. He was one of the initial people, too, when there were some rumors in the media of other cities we were considering. He, of course, called me and said, "But you are focused on Orlando." And honestly, I wasn't initially. And so Alex, on behalf of his community, and has a strong relationship with the Disney folks, they wear the name on their uniforms. He was someone who pushed hard and knows this community well. And so thank you to Alex. From the Players Association, of course, Michelle Roberts, the executive director. She's been our partner in everything we've done down here. Chris Paul, the president of the Players Association. You know, I think from the night we shut down on March 11th, of course, the initial case, positive test was in Oklahoma City, you know, where they were playing that night against the Utah Jazz. So, you know, we begun talking that night and have been talking virtually daily ever since. There are two other players on their executive committee I'd also like to single out. That is Kyle Lowry, of course, the Toronto Raptors, and Dwight Powell from the Dallas Mavericks. Those three players, Chris, Kyle, and Dwight, had a weekly call with a group of us at the league office. And, you know, those were in that small group where we could have, you know, really honest, direct conversations with each other about understanding truly the needs of the players, of the teams, of the league. And I want to thank those three players in particular, together with their executive committee. From the NBA, my partner, colleague, Mark Tatum, our chief operating officer, deputy commissioner, who's here and spent much of the summer down on the campus here. Thank you personally, Mark. Byron Spruell, you know, our chief of basketball operations, who's you know, been down here the entire time as well. They've really made this happen from a league standpoint. A few others. The media here who are in Orlando know these folks well because of their day-to-day roles. Kelly Flato, who is head of our events. I mean, she's in essence the concierge of this community. You know, everything from making sure the buses run on time to those of you in this room who requested feather pillows. I know who you are. I've got the list. I know all the personal requests that everyone here has made. Flat water, bubbly water, I know it all. So Kelly has been remarkable. David Weiss, many may not know him, but he has taken on the role of sort of chief of medical protocol at the league office. And he's not a doctor, but he's in essence a scientist and has become one. And he's become an expert on everything about COVID-19, about the virus, about testing. And, you know, he, in essence, designed, you know, together with a panel of doctors, much of the protocol we're operating under. And just a few others real quickly. Dr. David Ho, he was someone, many of you may remember him, that when I got to the NBA in the early 90s, he was the lead HIV/AIDS researcher. And I think, you know, Magic Johnson has credited Dr. Ho with saving his life. And he was someone that I have maintained a personal relationship with over all of these years. And coincidentally, we ran into each other at a Brooklyn Nets game in January when people were beginning to hear about this coronavirus in China. And I was telling him what I was hearing from our offices in China. And again, this is what he does. So he now at Columbia University was already studying this virus in his lab. And then he, beginning at that point in January, became our lead scientist expert in helping us navigate through this virus. So, and a personal thank you to Dr. Ho. And just two more. Dr. John DiFiore, he's the chief of medical operations for the league, and Leroy Sims, many of you know as well, Dr. Sims. Those two doctors, league physicians who've really taken care of everyone on campus. And